And now we're going to bring in, he has to unmute, I believe he's over on the other side of Lake Michigan today. I can't tell. Are you in Wisconsin or Chicago, or where are you these
On the
days,
south
Kevin?
side of the Cheddar Curtain today, Mr. Brennan,
Ah, good to know. Good to know. All right. Uh,
Chicagoland.
yes, good old Chicagoland. Kevin is one of the sponsors that we have for a couple of different media groups that I have. But he has some interesting products that it's not. One of them is he's working with the Michigan Cannabis Business Group. A lot of cash moves around in that group, but there's a lot of cash that also moves around in a lot of other retail areas, right? Let's talk a little bit about that and some of the products that you bring to the fore to help people count that, move it, protect it, and everything else, right?
Absolutely. This technology is very common retail technology, and it is applicable to all retail. And it is essentially technology called cash automation or cash recyclers or smart safes. And by driving a more efficient either dispensary operation or normal retail operation, you can reduce burdens, you can cut costs, you can drive bottom line savings by basically speeding up and securing and making the cash in the store be more productive and more efficient for you. And that is what myself and my company Data Financial do right now with 100% of the casinos in 5 states in the Midwest and 95% of the banks in our footprint, credit unions, regional processing centers of money. It's really common in amusement parks, in hospitality, and gaming is basically machinery in the back of the house called cash recyclers for the most part, and smart safes with good standard operating procedures. You could be very efficient in dispensary retail ops or normal retail ops. And that's what I'd love to talk to your audience about ever. So feel free to hit me up. I'm the cash automation guy that knows Mike. And
Well, whatever that's worth, right?
that's worth a lot, my guy. You'd be surprised.
Okay. All right, Matt.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about the machinery and how, I guess, the state of the art has advanced from what we have seen, years and years ago with slow mechanical cash counting machines to what there is now. And what's the advantage of having more modern machinery to do this?
It's mostly the combination of getting software too, I think, is the biggest advantage. That hardware software combo that has kind of moved into the forefront when you think about higher tech capital equipment purchases for the back of the house retail ops. And for sure, hardware, software, that kind of combo, when you have a machine that can count down to the penny all the cash coming into the store, the cash management piece or the module tied to the software that a hardware would want to output and maybe even send to like a bank. This is really important for this provisional credit idea or getting daily credits. You want to prove what's in your recycler, what's in your smart safe to justify them putting it into your account early. So a combination of that kind of heads up display and visibility and statistics and reporting is really good for our operators to, I think, get to the bank with some ammunition. But the tech is essentially doing what all tech does, and it is kind of modernize and make more efficient the manual process, right? Which is still what a lot of folks are doing in the business, counting a lot manually, taking the time to bag it manually, taking the time to band it manually when there could be a machine, and depending on the time spent, prepping tills, floating tills, getting your stuff ready for the armored car, processing that cash, the physical security of delivering it. You could implement a smart safe, you could implement a recycler, and I think have a lot of advantages.
Now, if I understand the smart safe correctly, and if I don't, correct me, that one of the bigger bugaboos is that cash is sitting in the safe. The armored car might not come for a day or two, but if I understand it correctly, with the smart safe, it alerts your bank as to that money is there, and it will physically arrive at the bank at some point in the immediate future. And so you can get it credited to your account faster. Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah, and it happens all the time at like auto zones or like all these big retails, right? But the nuance, the wrinkle with the cannabis related is because it's still Schedule 1, and bank charters have to change, and safe banking probably is not going to get it done necessarily. So there's still going to be this, like, in my opinion, paradigm of having to really use cash to keep the store afloat, especially with all these card processors getting their accounts shut down pretty frequently, I hear. So it's a negotiation with the bank, Mark. You're on the money. It's basically called a provisional credit or a daily credit. And most hardwares are just straight up machinery, right? We get some sort of output from a middleware typically, and a middleware would be the person hosting the files and pinging the bank with the right documentation. And what you'll find is that the IT department oftentimes needs very basic documentation to quote unquote, verify or start the process. And then whatever then the client has negotiated, right, as far as pickup or what have you, time into the reducing that time to the bank, that could all be sorted out and negotiated. My company is a service organization predominantly, so we would be obviously facilitating the sale of the smart safe and then working with you, the bank, the armored car, maybe putting together some sort of dashboard so everybody can see what's happening. But essentially we would leave, a lot of that up to you, but help with the PM, the lube, the install, the training, right? All the nuances of keeping your machinery in the back of the house operational. That's where my company can really help.
So I was interested particularly in the in what you do for the cannabis industry, given the Schedule 1 problem. I take it that means that no federally chartered financial institution can take those deposits, right? So where do they go? What do these companies, do they like bring a stack of cash to the utility company to pay the light bill? I mean, how does all that work for them?
It's funny that you say that. But the reality is there's really banking for everybody. In my opinion, it's pretty much like the plumbing at this point. It's going to get back to the Federal Reserve in one way or the other, whether it's through credit union, state, chartered, national FDIC deal. But for some time, it was this air of feeling, persecuted, where it was like difficult to get banked, really hard to get your money into the FDIC banking system, right? Like innovation was, we were using ACH rails, right? Like, come on, these are people conducting commerce, having jobs, or obviously I'm employing people and paying taxes, right? We should loosen the regulation a little bit on this kind of stuff and have an economy flourish around it.
Well, and then in the state of Michigan, there's also, I've been told, although I don't have the exact names for all of them, there's something like 13 banks and credit unions that do work with the cannabis community. So that shouldn't be a big issue. Now, he's referring to the Safe Banking Act. That's something Congress has been kicking around for years, I guess. And the big bugaboo there is cannabis, even though it's legal in 23 states, is still illegal on a federal level. Makes no sense. Schedule 1 drug. And so they're talking about maybe reducing it down or maybe descheduling it altogether, but remains to be seen if that's going to happen. But certainly you have other products. I mean, all retailers, although it's probably less and less over time, still handle cash. And I mean, I shop at a Meijer store, and you go in there on a Saturday. Now a lot of those ATM, not ATMs, but the cashless retail where you go in and you just you ring everything up. You can put cash in them, but most people use credit cards. But still, in say a Meijer store, there's got to be a lot of cash moving through there, right?
No, yeah, totally. And the question we would want to ask is to your clients, or right, how much time are they spending counting right now, prepping the tills, and what their desired process or methodology looks like. And the reality is, when cash exchanges hands or touches hands, really, that there's a labor cost involved, and there's shrinkage and loss when it comes to handling it. And also, you were talking about the banking earlier. Think about how much are the fees to bank, and how much are the armored car and the carriers getting for their services, and could you be efficient keeping the cash in the store and having great operating procedures to work through all that and make it really efficient process it well.